Hi, good morning. I love you. Mm. This episode is part of the seven chakra series. Hopefully, they're coming to you in order, but we'll just see what happens. I'm actually recording the sacral chakra first because I had some crazy, wild, beautiful healing happen in the last business week that is all about the sacral chakra. And I feel really compelled to share that with you because it's real, it's hard, it's gross, it's vulnerable, it's everything. So let's just get this ball rolling. Your sacral chakra. This is located, it's your second chakra, actually. It's orange in color, and it's located in between your belly button and your pubic bone. It's the center for creativity, creation. It's obviously it's the center. It houses your reproductive organs, so anything that has to do with sex or desire or things of that nature, this is all part of your sacral chakra energy. Um, the other thing that the sacral chakra does, it's got probably one of the hugest jobs of all the chakras. The sacral chakra is where we process our emotions. Okay. So you can have emotions anywhere in your body, it become trapped. Emotions can become trapped in any organ, any tissue, any cell, okay? So, um, but the sacral is where they are processed and typically released. So this can happen in many ways. Physically, you can about imagine the ways that you can release sacral energy. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that because the stuff I want to go into detail in is like my own personal experience. And you're probably going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe she just told us that. And you're probably going to be like, oh, whoa, Jenna, maybe hit stop recording and take a breath. No. I'm not. I want to get real and raw and just, I want to help you. And without me being like fully transparent and authentic, I feel like I'm doing you a disservice. And I live to serve, especially when it comes to talking about myself and my own healing. Here's what worked for me. So this is crazy because I was thinking about this before I hit record and time. So many, many, many moons ago, actually almost a decade ago, which I was thinking about dates and years, and I'm like, I can't believe this was almost a decade ago. But it was 9 years ago. My husband and I split. Um, and we weren't married yet, but we went through a time. We had a lot of emotional stuff going on, like within the family unit, within the kids, and within other relationships. And it was just a very, very, very hard time. And I was trying to find a way out of the relationship because I couldn't take the stress and the pressure anymore. Or so I thought. We did end up coming back together. Obviously, we're married now. I asked him to marry me. I slapped a ring on that shit and I love him with my whole heart. But we had to go through some tribulation. Did we ever? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happens when you hold on to emotions within your sacral chakra. So, like I said, any type of trauma, whether it's um, like it doesn't matter what it is. It could be something that happened within your sacral. I mean, like a sexual abuse or rape or incest or anything that was not consensual. Um, that trauma is stored in your sacral. Okay. And I'm sure you probably know that. But even things like I said, abortion or miscarriage, childbirth can really wreak havoc on our sacral chakras energetically. If we have a really tough childbirth and it's hours of labor or hours in the ER or whatever, like we can if we don't know how to process and let it go, we can hold that trauma there. And then in the future, what happens is we have physical actual issues. Or maybe it doesn't even wait. Maybe it happens right then. Like, you experience things like prolapse or, have end up having to get a hysterectomy or something like that. Like that is all, trauma. It's all trauma within the sacral. And so being that this is where we process all of our emotions, like I said, the sacral has a huge job. And what do we do if we're holding stuff there? And in my 9 years, I still can't believe that 9 years of experience, like my heart came first. I started healing, doing some heart healing. And then shortly after came my sacral. Now, I have a couple traumas within the sacral. Um, I have a couple self-inflicted traumas in the sacral. Actually, I would say that's where most of my trauma comes from, choices I made. So, with that being said, here's something that you need to know. Any sexual partner that you've ever had, you also have an energetic connection with. Sexual intercourse is something that is sacred, or it's supposed to be sacred. It's the connection of two for the purpose of creation, right? Um, or so we've been told. So when you connect with another person on that level, you automatically have an energetic connection then afterwards. So if it wasn't a healthy connection, usually there's a pain or a trauma or, a connection that's not healthy there. Um, and that will cause issues later on down the road, if not right away. So with that being said, I know some of you are probably like, oh, well, good thing I've only ever been with my husband. And I'm sure some of you, like me, are like, oh, good. Because I used to be a fucking hussy. Ooh. But that's what I'm healing. And the reason I'm telling you that is because that's what I'm healing. I do not love the fact that I used to get around. Okay. That is not something that I'm proud of. That is not something, I ever thought I'd fucking say into a microphone. That is not something like I, that's not who I am anymore. So it's not that, like, I don't condone that type of behavior because I've lived it and I know how much it can ruin your energy, your everything. So, but however, I do have deep, deep, deep compassion and love for anybody that has experienced that or has been, maybe if you don't like believe like, oh, I used to be a whore, but other people call you a whore. I can help you with that too, because it's all shame. And shame is something we definitely hold in our sacrals, okay? Shame is one of the most powerful negative emotions because, I mean, you can feel shame from others. People can call you a whore or a hussy or whatever. I mean, that's one thing. But when you internalize that and when that becomes like the story that you're replaying in your mind, it can kill you. Can you hear those sirens? Wee wee. It can. And it almost killed me. And that is why I started this journey because I saw the light. I saw the light and I started following it because I knew deep down I don't want to die. I want to live. I don't want to give a shit what anybody else thinks of me. I want to live. I don't want to give a fuck if somebody calls me a whore in an email or a hussy or a whatever. I don't want to give a shit if anybody's talking about who I used to be behind my back. And after many moons of work, these are things that I've been able to release. How? Well, I'll tell you what, I started by learning about the chakras. What are these energy centers? What does that even mean? You are the manager of your own energy. You manage all of that which goes on within you. It's up to you. Everything is a choice. You choose how you manage your energy. So, I started learning about the chakras. I started doing research on the areas where I felt I was holding on to pain or my chakras might be closed. And it was this heart and it was this sacral. I mean, it's all the other ones too, from day to day. I mean, they're open and closed and fucking depending on what I'm going through or what I'm feeling or whatever. And you're no different. But the heart and the sacral are where my most dedicated diligence is devoted. So it started off with learning about the chakras and then especially like doing a bit of a deep dive into the heart and the sacral. But talking about the sacral, like when energy is stuck or when you have trauma or pain or emotions that you haven't processed, first of all, one of the very first things I learned from my good friend Lisa is belly dance, hula hoop. Either way, you don't have to have either of these. Like, you don't have to know how to belly dance. You don't have to own a hula hoop. However, it helps, which I don't have one in here. I don't have one. I don't have one. But if you make the motion of moving your hips in a circular circle, either way, what this does, like, and if you do it quickly or do the whole shimmy like a freaking belly dancer, you are breaking up that stagnant energy. And it sounds like, oh my God, I would never do that because what if somebody saw me? I'd look so stupid. This is one of the things that helped me get over that because, first of all, no, I'm doing it in the privacy of my own home and nobody's going to see me. Second of all, if somebody did see me, it would be my husband and he'd come in like, oh, Shakira, Shakira, you know? So stop. There's nobody going to fuck up your sacral healing. Okay. So hula hooping, shaking that shit out. I began to do that every day whenever I felt because at the time I was experiencing a lot of low back pain, okay? And this does manifest in your sacral somewhere, but I would say like in my hips and in my low back, the behind the back side of the sacral. Um, so doing that was something that even though it's silly, I took it very seriously. That chiropractor, massage, friends, that helps shake some of that shit out. And that's just a little bitty tool that I use to help move sacral chakra energy. Other things you can do, essential oils. Orange essential oil is one of the most powerful sacral movers and shakers. It'll help you break up that energy. Orange, flowers like jasmine, ylang ylang. Vanilla is really good for the sacral. Cinnamon is really, really good for the sacral. Um, and then you think of like foods, fruits and vegetables that are orange in color. These and God-given foods, fruits and vegetables, I mean, like come from God's cornucopia because otherwise you're just eating garbage. But if you look at food as medicine, eating things like oranges and mangoes and papayas and yams, sweet potatoes, carrots, anything orange in color is going to be medicine for that sacral chakra. Okay. And then as far as like crystals, carnelian, goldstone, orange calcite, peach moonstone, sunstone, tangerine quartz, amber, these are all really good sacral movers. And you don't have to do anything special other than whenever I have this rock on me, this is helping me move sacral energy. Okay. So you can just put it in your pocket with that intention and it will help you to move that energy. Rocks, crystals, girl. I mean, they contain all the wisdom of the earth. This is like the thing that's been here forever, ever. Okay. So it may sound woo-woo to you, but this is part of what God created for us to use as medicine. So believe it or don't, you might think I'm weird, but I'm healing over here. So I don't give a shit. Um, so processing emotions in your sacral, you can do things like that. Use crystals or essential oils with intention. But the biggest medicine for your sacral chakra is creativity. This is your center for creativity. So when you think of um, like musicians and artists and um, people who create like food, cooks and bakers and landscapers, anybody who creates something beautiful, they typically have really good energy flow in their sacral chakras because they have a way to move that energy out, to process that energy. I mean, there's so many creative ways to express. And my mom was so good at that. She was such a creative at heart. She could make anything beautiful, anything. I mean, she did all of the art mediums like painting and drawing and pottery and sign making and all of these things. Like if you're putting pen to paper, whether it's in the form of drawing or writing, that's creative action. That is medicine. Okay. Baking a batch of cookies for somebody that you love, that is creative. Decorating cakes or painting your bedroom or taking an old piece of furniture and refurbishing it or making a homemade salsa or making any kind of music or um, refinishing a deck or anything. You can literally create from anything. And when you are present and in that moment, man, do you feel in flow or what? And if you're creatively figuring out a way to become aware of the emotions you're holding in your body while doing that thing that you like to do, you release it. And it comes out in the form of art. It comes out in the form of a delicious fucking batch of cookies, man. And it's out of your body. So, I've known this for many moons, and I've applied these things for many moons. Every time any orange anything comes into my awareness, I'm like, ooh, sacral. Even if it's just like something I see, as I'm driving down the road, I think of my sacral chakra and what might need attention there. It's weird, but this is just like I've trained my mind to do this. And I feel like it's helping me fucking evolve and grow. I mean, so back to my real wide open vulnerable grotesque little story. So my husband and I split 9 years ago, and I went into a relationship with somebody else. Now, I have had a million ex-boyfriends. I have. And there's not one of them that like I think of and I'm like, oh, God, what was I thinking? But this one do that. This one be doing that. Okay. And I was talking to Lynn's the other day on the phone and I said his name because that point in my life, I often refer to it as I'm talking about my healing. So I brought his name up and I was just like, oh, fucking cringe. And I said that right to Linz. And I'm like, why am I still cringing? This was 9 fucking years ago. Why does that still make me cringe? And I told Linz, I'm like, dude, I got some fucking sacral work to do. This is just, it's just too much. It wasn't too much. It was what happens now because Linz and I are both generating manifestors on human design. So when I say something, it just comes to be. And I have to be very careful. So I says to Linz, I'm like, oh, I need to do some healing around that shit. Why am I still cringing? So anyway, we get off the phone and this was actually what day was it? It was on the 10th, which would have been just a few 4 days ago. Um, which was also okay, I'll tell the story in order. So we get off the phone and I'm like, well, I'm gonna go out to the garden and get some fall readiness done so that spring is easy. And I had this idea. I had been doing some research on raspberry care in the fall, and I wanted to thin out my raspberries and prune them back and make sure they're insulated and fucking all the things, the compost and everything, and make sure I have a beautiful crop next year that I can actually easily get to without any weird overgrowth. And I'm a gardener. I'm not an expert. I'm very much still in the learning phases. So anyway, I go out there because with my clippers and my gloves because I'm going to cut away all the dead wood, all the dead raspberry cane. So anytime I, excuse me, anytime I do any plant work in nature that requires the cutting away of the old or trimming back, I have a ritual. Anytime I'm snipping or plucking away, I think I am cutting out that which no longer serves me and I'm letting it go. I'm releasing that which no longer serves me and I'm letting it go. I do this with weed pulling too. Like I'm imagining anything stuck, like if I'm having back pain or something like that, I imagine whatever's stuck in my back, I'm just pulling it out by the fucking taproot. And it's weird. It's not weird, dude. It works. It works. It helps. Like I'm in the garden on my hands and knees, like working on, having a back that feels good, doing something that would probably not make your back feel good, but by the time I get out, I feel like a brand new woman. So tell me it's not like in your mind. Starts with a thought. Everything starts with a thought. So meanwhile, this is where my creativity comes in because this is my ritual, my little shedding of the old shit ritual. And I'm like, just thinking, ooh, I'm letting go of whatever this is. And I wasn't even thinking about like that thing or that dude at the time. I was just thinking about what do I need to let go of? What am I releasing today as I'm snipping away? There was a lot of fucking dead cane out there. So I had at least an hour's worth of pruning. So I'm thinking I'm cutting all this shit away for my new growth. Show me what I'm cutting away. Like, what do I need to let go of? And all I could really think of at the time was like judgment. I have to let go of judgment of myself and others. And that's always something that I'm trying to let go of because ew, like I love being human. That's the gross part of being a human is fucking judgment because ew, walk in my shoes. Let me walk in your shoes. We just sit here and judge like bunch of judgy McJudgersons, and I don't want to be that guy. Let me let it go. So then all of a sudden, I can picture this dude's face as I'm like snipping and cutting, and I'm like, ugh! And I cringed and I puked in my mouth in the garden. And I'm like, what is it? What is it about this dude that makes me so fucking ill? So I'm thinking, what do you hate about him? What is the thing that just pisses you off the most? And I just thought, that is a person, or at the time, 9 years ago, that is a person that sucks. That is a person that is a liar and is inauthentic and is mean to people and like makes fun of people behind their backs, fucking gossips. That is a person that just is not in fucking alignment. That is a person that sucks. Was a person that sucks. So I'm like, why? Why do I care so much? Who gives a fuck? Look at me now. Like I have everything I've ever dreamed of in my life. Why am I hanging on to this anger and this like bleh? And then I like saw a vision of myself in the mirror. Why? Because I hated who I was at that time. I hated what I was doing at that time. I hated that I was inauthentic as fuck at that time. I hated that I was a liar at that time. I hated that I was who I was at that time. So why was I cringing? Why was I puking in my mouth? Because I was who I was, not having anything to do with who he was. I mean, a little bit. But God put him in my life to show me my reflection. So, of course, as I'm in the garden realizing this, I'm cringing and puking, and I just start fucking bawling, bawling, bawling. It wasn't him. I hated who I was. I'm letting go of who I was. I am not that person anymore. As I snip away these dead raspberry canes, I'm like, that is not who I am. And if it weren't for this dude that was making me cringe and making me throw up in my fucking mouth, I wouldn't have found God. I wouldn't be this close to God. I would not be who I am right in this minute, right on this very day, speaking into this very microphone. In that moment, in the garden, I released some huge, awful, stank ass energy within my sacral. It came with the self awareness of realizing that it wasn't that other person that was making me like, bleh. It was myself. But also, without that other person, I couldn't be what I am. Without that other, God brought me that other person to find God. What? And I walked in the house and got my period. So tell me that that shit isn't real. I'll wait. Sacral healing in the garden. After years of essential oils and rocks and sound baths and Reiki and massage and like all the things that try to, these tools, they helped because they brought me to this very, very exact moment in time. It brought me to that moment in the garden. It brought me out of the cringe, out of the ick. Because now, ever since, and I realized this was only 4 days ago, mind you, but ever since that moment, I've been like on purpose saying that person's name in my head and seeing what my energetic response is. And all I can do is just smile and my heart wells up with love. And that's fucking weird that I can do a 180 like that. But you guys, I'm telling you, I didn't need a therapy session, a talk therapy session, or a pill to get to move energy there. Like, and I wish I could just snap my fingers and heal all my shit overnight, but then what kind of life would I have to enjoy? I enjoy the fuck out of healing. I could not wait to talk about that. I fucking called Lynn's and she was in the middle of a whole bunch of shit. I'm like, oh my God, guess what just happened at the garden? Blah, 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 blah. And then it inspired me to do this whole seven chakra like synopsis, a little bonus freaking episode for the next, several weeks. Like, it inspired create more creativity in me, using my creativity to nip away the dead shit and then like think about imagining in that dead raspberry cane being something that's no longer serving me and clipping it away and letting it go. I moved energy within my being, within my soul, within my body. So it ain't easy work, but it's honest work. And I look at myself now and I'm like, girl, because and maybe it was just like a lesson to see how far I've come. Because like, I don't, first of all, I don't do those things anymore. Um, I've, I don't, I'm not a liar. I'm not inauthentic. I don't fucking, I really try not to beat around the bush. I try to show up as who I am. And I see it. I see such a huge step in the difference of the person who I was compared to who I've become. And it was because of that awful thing that happened so many years ago. Like, I'm finally seeing that silver lining. It was there the whole time. I just refused to see it because I refused to process and let go of those emotions. So, being able to do it in the garden is pretty fucking sacred because my garden is pretty sacred. One of the biggest hearts I know is in that garden, and that would be my dog Lucy, one of my greatest teachers of love. She she taught me how to love me. I don't know why she did sometimes, but she did. Relentless. So, sacred healing, sacred sacral healing in the garden. There's so many other things. I mean, that was one personal experience I had with sacral chakra healing, but for me, it definitely mostly always comes with like the self-awareness has to happen before the energy is moved. So, um, when you have physical ailments show up, like in the form of the things I talked about earlier, like your periods come with, pain and clotting and it lasts for 100 years, and or if you have like endometriosis or have trauma from childbirth or sexual trauma, like we can let go of these things, we can process these emotions and let them go in a healthy way. And I can't tell you how long it's going to take you, but I certainly can help you streamline that shit, because along the way, I have picked up so many tools and so many inklings and wisdoms and beautiful nuggets to help, especially with the sacral and the heart. Sacral and heart, they're my two faves. So reach out, ask. I mean, if there's something that you're going through and you want me to help you with like the um, metaphysical aspect of it, if you have something physical going on and you need to figure out how the hell you're going to process it, I can definitely help you do that. You can, there's so many ways to get a hold of me. I mean, you can send me an email, you can text me, you can call me, you can comment on my things on the interwebs, and we can work something out to where I can help you figure out how to heal this. Because if we don't start healing this stuff in our homes, you guys, it's not gonna, the world's not gonna heal. And then we pass that shit down to our kids. And I know none of you want to do that. So check out my website. And if there's something that interests you there, you can reach out to me that way as well. So that is heartselflove.com. And there are many, many things on that website that need some love and attention. I do have a self-love book club, and it just shows you all the books that I have read to further my healing and my self-awareness and my health. Um, and I am constantly trying to add to that. So every time I read a book and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, everybody needs to read this, I always add it to that. And I try to share it as well on social media. But there's that. There's my Wild Heart Apothecary, where I have offerings of non toxic essential oil perfumes and body sprays and roller balls and some skincare. And that is becoming one of my favorite passions. Perfumery is really the road that I want to go down. And I'm learning more and more and more, and incorporating more of my wisdom into, how to give a perfume some staying power for more than a minute. Shit like that, which is also very helpful for my sacral chakra healing. What else is on my website? My services are all listed there. So the services page and then the book now page are two different things, but the services kind of explains what each offering kind of entails. And make sure you check out the offering for the open heart emotion release, because you guys, that's gonna be fucking huge. I'm telling you, you can find emotions that were trapped within your heart for years. Figure out what they are, when they happened, who was involved, and release it right then and there on the spot. And I help you do that with muscle testing. So you can book that. You can book that session and get your mind blown, because that's what happens. If you can release something you've been holding on to since you were 12, wouldn't you do it? Wouldn't you? I can help you do that. So, what else is on there? And you can just contact me through the website as well. I'm trying to get a little more savvy on that bad boy. But if you are interested in the open heart emotion release technique, I do have a video. And if you search on my Facebook, or did I share it? I don't know if I know how to share it on Instagram. I don't know. It's on my Facebook. Anyway, it's also on my YouTube channel, which is at Heart Self Love, I think. So that explains the whole spiel and how I do everything. And I even give a an example of, like, I release an emotion live in front of the camera, which is also about an ex-boyfriend, which is hilarious. Not the same ex-boyfriend, but so yeah, that's what I have for you guys today. Check out the offerings in the apothecary, would ya? Because I have I have many offerings, and my all of my perfumes that I've released so far this year also come with uh open heart. Do I want to call it open heart? Wisdom of the heart. Um Heart attack. I don't know. It's probably gonna have the name heart of it. But you guys are receiving, whenever you buy a scent from me, you also receive the very first version rough draft of my oracle cards that are gonna come out someday soon, when I have approximately 44 scents that I've released to the world. So that's something to look forward to. But if you buy all my perfumes, you get them in advance, and maybe, like, maybe if you buy all of my perfumes, I'll give you a free session. Girl. Okay, you'd have to spend like $500,000 to get a free session. That's kind of a ripoff. No, it's not. It'd be totally worth it. But I'll figure out something, like, collect all 44 of them, and I'll make you a t-shirt probably, and give you a free session. Okay. All right, you guys, that's all I have for you for the sacral chakra today. I love you. Go love yourself.